They called her Boots because her combat boots were still new when she arrived at Fort Benning. Private First Class Elena Marlowe had come from a small town in Iowa where cornfields stretched like seas and her father's war stories filled the evenings. He'd served in Vietnam, quiet and haunted but proud. When Elena told him she'd enlisted, he simply said, "Don't talk about it. Prove it." Those words burned in her mind when the guys at the barracks smirked, whispering that she was just another recruitment poster dreamer, too soft to handle the grind. Training days were long, the Georgia heat blistering, and the instructors didn't go easy on her. Every drill was a test not just of endurance but of belonging. They called her the rookie poster girl, Marlowe the marshmallow. She ignored them and ran harder, shot longer, carried heavier, until even the sergeant noticed that she didn't quit, not once. When deployment orders came for Afghanistan, she was the last name on the list, barely cleared, assigned as a combat medic in a platoon full of hardened infantry who'd already done 2 tours. Their leader, Staff Sergeant Cole Tanner, a man carved from stone, met her with folded arms and skeptical eyes. "You keep your head down, rookie," he told her. "This isn't a training ground. People die out there." She nodded, but inside she promised herself she wouldn't just keep her head down. She would stand tall. Their base was a windswept outpost in Kandahar, surrounded by mountains that looked peaceful from afar but hid shadows and whispers of danger. Every night, the air carried the crackle of distant fire and the low hum of rotors in the distance. Elena wrote letters to her parents but never sent them. She wanted to bring back proof, not promises. The first mission went bad fast, a convoy ambush at dawn, chaos erupting from the hills. Elena ran toward the sound of gunfire while others took cover, dragging Corporal Jenkins behind a Humvee as bullets sparked around them. Her hands shook, but she remembered her training: stop the bleeding, keep the airway clear, stay calm. Jenkins survived. Later, he called her Document. That was the first time anyone had used her title with respect. But war doesn't hand out respect easily. 2 weeks later, an IED tore through a supply truck on a night patrol. The blast threw Elena into a ditch, ears ringing, her shoulder shredded. She woke up in the medical tent, dazed and in pain, but refused evacuation. "You're not cleared," the medic insisted. "You've got shrapnel still in your arm." "Then tape it," she said through gritted teeth. That was the day she earned her first Purple Heart. She didn't tell anyone. She didn't want pity, just purpose. Weeks bled into months, each one carving away the rookie they once mocked. She learned to read the land like language, to feel the tension in silence before trouble came. She patched up the wounded under fire, carried bodies out of burning vehicles, and once, when their communications were cut, she crawled a mile through dust and wire to fix the radio link that saved her squad. The men who once laughed now followed her instinctively. They didn't see a rookie anymore, they saw a soldier who never froze when it mattered most. But the mission that changed everything came in late November, under grey skies that smelled of rain and smoke. Intelligence reported insurgent movement near a nearby village, an ambush zone. Tanner's platoon was sent in to secure it. Elena felt the weight in her gut, a quiet warning she couldn't shake. They advanced slowly, scanning rooftops, when the world erupted in thunder. The first RPG struck the lead vehicle, flames roared, and men screamed for cover. Tanner was hit, bleeding out in the open. Without hesitation, Elena sprinted across the road, bullets stitching the dirt around her. She slid beside him, pressed gauze to his chest, and radioed for support. "Stay with me, Sarge," she said, her voice steady even as fire rained down. She dragged him behind cover, shielding him with her own body as another explosion rocked the air. They made it out alive, but she didn't. Not really. A piece of shrapnel lodged near her spine. She refused morphine, patched herself up, and went right back into the field once she could walk again. That was Purple Heart number 2. By her 3rd year, Elena had become a legend within the unit. The men who mocked her now asked for her advice before missions. She had scars running up her arms like faded road maps and eyes that saw too much. When her best friend from the platoon, Private Leo Ramirez, was caught in an ambush, she ran through a hail of gunfire to reach him. She pulled him to safety, patched his wounds, and then, when the helicopter extraction failed, she carried him 3 miles through rocky terrain until they reached base. She collapsed from exhaustion and blood loss but smiled when he squeezed her hand. "You're crazy, Marlo," he whispered. "Yeah," she said, "but I'm still standing." Purple Heart number 3. Then came the day that would define her forever. Their convoy was ambushed again in the mountains, this time by a force twice their size. Reinforcements were hours away. Tanner, now promoted to lieutenant, looked at her and said, "You don't have to go out there again." But she just smiled. "I'm the medic. I always go out there." She moved through the smoke, tending to the fallen, her hand steady even as mortars crashed around. When the dust cleared, they had survived, barely. Elena was found half-conscious, shielding 2 wounded soldiers beneath her body. 4th Purple Heart. Months later, she returned home. The air smelled different, clean, soft, wrong somehow. She was invited to a ceremony in D.C., surrounded by officials and flashbulbs, but she felt out of place. The same soldiers who once mocked her now stood in dress blues, eyes lowered with respect. When the general called her name, she stepped forward, her medals glinting under the lights. After the applause, a reporter asked, "How does it feel, being the most decorated medic in your unit?" She smiled faintly and said, "It's not about medals. It's about who you carry home." That line went viral, shared by millions who never knew her face until that moment. Years later, she walked back into that same base in Georgia, this time as a guest speaker. The new recruits straightened when they saw her uniform, the ribbons, the quiet authority in her presence. Some whispered, "That's Marlo, the rookie who got 4 Purple Hearts." She looked around the room, saw the nervous faces, and said, "They'll tell you you're not ready. They'll laugh when you stumble. Let them. Just remember, it's not the rank that defines you. It's what you do when it's just you and the noise." The silence afterward was heavy, reverent. As the ceremony ended, one of the young recruits approached her shyly. He said, "How did you keep going when everyone doubted you?" She smiled, remembering her father's voice from so many years ago. "Because I didn't come here to be believed," she said softly. "I came here to be remembered." Later that night, as the base lights dimmed and the American flag waved against the sunset, Elena sat alone on a bench, the weight of her medals resting in her palm. They weren't symbols of pride, they were memories, heavy ones. For Purple Hearts, for 4 times she could have died, but didn't. 4 times she refused to give up. The laughter that once haunted her was gone, replaced by quiet respect. Somewhere deep down, she could still hear her father's words, "Don't talk about it. Prove it." And she had. So when the recruits whispered behind her back now, they didn't call her rookie. They called her legend. And she didn't correct them. Because legends, after all, aren't born, they are forged in fire, pain, and purpose. If you felt something hearing her story, if you believe that real courage comes from the ones nobody believed in, hit that subscribe button, show some love to her, and never forget the name, Elena Marlo, the rookie who dropped 4 Purple Hearts on the table.